Hey everyone, Jacob from Wetsuit Warehouse. Today we're going to be talking about the zips. Pretty crucial part of any suit. It's how you get in, it's how you get out. A good zip will be the difference between a comfortable suit and a warm suit, because the easiest way for water to enter into the suit is through that zip. It's impossible to seal a zip, but by positioning it elsewhere on the suit, you can have more freedom of movement and you're not getting that nasty cold water flush every time you duck dive or wipe out. We'll start off with the back zip. It's been the staple in the wetsuit world since forever. It's easy to get into, nice and simple, but does have a few fundamental flaws if you're considering your suit for surfing. If you've got a zip along your back, the zipper being the only part on the suit that doesn't stretch, this kind of suit's only limiting your motion when you're bending down or when you're pushing up, which are both very relevant to surfing. If you're limited in this way, it's going to be less comfy and less stretchy. You'll find the back zip in most of your entry-level suits. Until about 2005, it was pretty much in everything, but come 2005-ish, the chest zip arrived on the market, and with the arrival of the chest zip, all premium suits went away from the back zip and into the chest. The chest zip's just a far better design, and I'll touch on that a bit later. But for now, we're still on the back zip, and apart from your standard entry, there's one main variation on the back zip. Doesn't have anything to do with the zip, but it's all about this back panel here. If you think about water coming in through the suit when you duck dive and wave lands on your back, or you take a tumble onto your back, the water that runs in through there is free to move around inside the suit. That's going to cool you down quickly. The only way to get around that cold water penetration is through what's called a back wing or a zip gusset. There's a million different names, but it's all the same principle. Essentially, you've got a barrier here, and this is you've got a barrier that separates the body of the suit from the zip. Therefore, any water that comes in through your neck and through your zip hits this wall, goes down, and then drains out through these little drainage holes down the bottom there. It's especially effective once you've paddled out. Say you've got wiped out, you're in the zone for a while, all that warm water's moved through your suit, you get back out and you stop moving. When you sit up on your board, all that water that might have pooled in around there just streams out through the bottom. It means your vitals are going to be warm, it means you're going to heat up that suit a bit quicker, and by the time you get wiped out next one, you're going to be warm. They're all basically the same thing. Some of these panels will have a bib that runs over your head just to keep that bit from sliding down your back. It also makes it a lot easier getting into the suit. Every time I put one of these on, the customers tend to have a big gather up here, and that big roll makes the suit feel uncomfortable. It's also not really going to be as effective as when it is fully extended. The back zip with a gusset's good because it keeps the suit warm, but it still hasn't eliminated that no stretch back panel. That's where the chest zip comes in, and that's where the game changes. Here's your back panel. There's not a seam on it. You've got a little one here for your neck enclosure, but if you think about that back panel, it's crazy stretch. There's no way your body can stretch that much because you've got bones. Therefore, you're not going to be limited in any fashion from the suit itself. Apart from the crazy back stretch, you're also not going to get any water moving in through here when you duck dive or when you wipe out. That's crucial for the overall warmth of the suit. Moving to the front, you'll see that the zip's positioned across shoulder to shoulder. Other than maybe this, there's no way to stretch that panel on the human body. Therefore, having something that doesn't stretch across there isn't going to limit it at all. By having the non-stretch element here, you're free to move in your back. You've also got more paddle stretch. As you reach forward, you're pulling through here. Having a zip through the middle means you've got half as much neoprene to pull from, and because neoprene is a percentage-based stretch, the more you've got to pull from, the more potential growth. If you look at the zip itself, it's pretty much a standard zip. It's shorter, same deal as the back zip, you know, YKK, all that kind of jazz. But when you get into it, you'll notice that the hood, the neck component rides over this internal part of the suit. This is the part that's going to seal around your body, and you've got a few different designs here, but most of them are just designed to open that neck out to make it easier to get into. Everybody that comes in having not seen a chest zip, they take one look at it and they're like, how am I going to get into that thing? It is a bit trickier. You will get used to the chest zip wiggle, but bear in mind that it's better in every fashion. Might be tricky the first few times, but that's because suits are new. They've got tape, they've got all this junk on there that doesn't stretch very much. So as you break through and wear that in, the whole suit's going to be a lot easier to get into. So being that the zip is the same, you will get water in through here. But because it's hitting this little panel here and running down along there, the water just runs out along the side. It's not entering the suit, it's not cooling you down. It's not even part of the equation anymore, basically. Unfortunately, the chest zip is only in your more high quality suits. If you're going to put in a low stretch rubber, there's no real point to having a suit in the chest zip because you're still going to limit it through that back panel. What the chest zips allowed wetsuit companies to do is work on warmer rubbers without negating the stretch. What used to be a lot more common, it is still around, and I guess you'd probably refer to it as the bib collar. Essentially the same idea, but instead of anchoring it on the shoulder, it comes from the back panel. This is probably the most stretchy option. I figure so because it's got less glue, there's no like lamination across the chest. If you look at the zip, it's just got 2 stitches. This guy here, it's basically laminated into the suit. That's how big the zipper component is. A lot more bulky. With the bib style, essentially the same thing. Back's the same, just got a shawl at the neck. Some people find it easier pulling the hood over. Some people find it easier anchoring the shoulder and bringing it over the side. It's personal preference, but realistically, I don't think you should worry about where the chest zip is positioned, so long as it's got a chest zip. You may have recalled me saying that the zip is the only part of the suit that doesn't stretch. That sort of thinking is what's born the no-zip steamer. Essentially the same idea as the chest zip, but instead of undoing this panel, you're literally just cranking the shoulder open and climbing in through the shoulder. They are the hardest suit to get into, but if you fold it down to the waist, as I was talking about before, it's the same deal. It's going to get tight through there, but you know, this stuff stretches like mad. As far as suits go, and as far as maximum available stretch, the Zipperless suit is the best. It's got maximum, it's the only suit that's unrestricted in every dimension of stretch. Keep going like this. It's good. But they're pretty wicked. They're also super light. The Drymax entry by Billabong, fancy trademarks, is slightly different. A lot of brands do this, but this is what's probably called a bib style. So the idea is you get into the suit as per your standard chest zip entry. Fold it down, jump in. But instead of just pulling that panel over, you've got a panel that goes back. What that does is stop all the water from flowing through on the front. And then you got this one, which stops all the water flowing in through the back. It's the warmest in the sense that it's the driest. So, to sum up, you got the chest zip, you got the back zip. If you're doing anything that requires movement, especially in your back, like surfing, anything that requires paddling, you're better off with the chest zip. Chest zip frees up that whole back panel, gives you essentially twice as much available stretch. On the other hand, you got the back zip. It's good because it's cheap. That's about it. If I didn't really cover anything properly, jump over to the blog at wetsuitwarehouse.com.au. We've gone to great lengths to explain these zips in each finite detail, along with pictures, all that jazz. So check out the blog or jump online, check out the shop, www.wetsuitwarehouse.com.au.